Okay, so we are recording. It's official now. And then I'm gonna upload this tonight together with the other class that I have to do. Let me double check. Yeah, it's all okay. So everybody's seeing what my set brush. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Pretty much, this is the version that we're going to install. The version that I have installed, the version that we're gonna have on the one that David's gonna give you. It's gonna say something like this, like a set brush, and then there's like Anglia Ruskin University. And so that's the license. It means that you are up and running. If the server drops down or anything, or sort of falls, I don't know how was a technical term, or like the server is down, I guess. Yeah, like I said, during working hours, David would be more happy because he can connect remotely and restart it for somehow, whatever he does, and he will be able to help you. Okay. So I think today what we're gonna go through here is we're gonna talk about a few things. Well, the first thing I'm gonna do is gonna talk a little bit about workflows. Okay, doing things, being happy, you as an artist, guys. Then we're gonna talk a little bit about anatomy. Okay. The anatomy, and I'm gonna go through a few things that you should know when you're dealing with anatomy and things like that. I think the majority of you already done past that, and I think every week by the feedback we give you, improve this and give you some pointers, and then you need to work on that. Okay, now those who are doing anatomy, guys, there are some people who are very natural when it comes to drawing or doing something in the computer, in this case sculpting. Some people, for example, I can draw, but I cannot draw as the quality of you guys. I've seen some of your drawings, and they're really good. That takes time, obviously. Talent, it takes a lot of iteration, it takes a lot of hard work. Now, if you are interested in doing anatomy, great. But you need to put many hours, guys, in order to get something out there done properly. And another thing as well, do not settle, guys. Do not settle. If something doesn't look right and you're not happy with it because you are working on something, on some sort of concept, and you got a vision or in your head how things look, how things should look like. Do not settle, guys. Start again. That's my point. Start again, guys. I mentioned to you many times from the beginning, it is pretty normal. And I'm gonna prove it to you guys because I've been working on something or a project, personal / commercial. I'm gonna show you some of this. And this took me about, in my spare time, night times, I normally when I finish here, I normally do it early in the morning because I'm an early riser, so I get up really early and then I spend 2-3 hours in there, and then I do my work, classes, your tutorials, practice, all that, and then in the night sometimes I do a little bit of this. Sometimes on a Saturday, while my daughter is playing a game or something, then I will go and do a little bit of that, just on my spare time at the moment. But it's gonna probably be something commercial soon. But what I wanted to say to you guys is that if you start working on something and it's not looking right and you're not happy with it, it is pretty normal, guys, for you to start again. I mentioned to you this before, and I'm gonna put it here on record in the recording, is that I have clients that have made me do things 16 times, guys, 16 times. And normally the one that the client chooses is the one that shows the beginning, the first change, and that's fine. That is nothing personal, and nothing to do with if you are not a good artist. No. This is creativity. The creativity comes from the fact that you're doing iterations. You're gonna change things. You're gonna restart. You're gonna explore different ideas. Obviously, for you will be a little bit slower because you are learning the software. That's pretty normal. If you invest the time and the hours, you will be getting there. Now, what I'm gonna show you now is I'm gonna show you a little bit of anatomy study that I started working, and a female anatomy study, and I'm gonna show you how many times I did this thing until I actually was happy with the result. Okay, and then we're gonna go a little bit through the facial anatomy and just as a talk through, and then the things that I actually discovered because I'm learning something all the time. And then the majority of this is obviously based on the fact that I have. I'm gonna show you my reference that I use, or the reference that I use, and I'm gonna give you some pointers for that. So for the future, when you do characters, and you will improve your character work this way. And obviously, as well, is the fact that you're going to be like I said, this is year one. You're getting the hang of this of the software. It is okay, guys. It is okay for you to, okay, I don't feel happy with this. I'm gonna start again. That's pretty normal. Then when you get more work and more work, more regular work, and then you start getting practice, then you will get better. I promise you guys. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this file and I gave you 3 passes to this project. 3 passes, guys. I did it 3 times. I did the first pass. I was happy with some things, but I wasn't happy with other things. Then in the second pass, I improved in other aspects, but I was very unhappy with other aspects. And then on the third time, I actually said, you know what, I'm going to take the best of all of them, and I'm going to start putting together. I'm going to find exactly what was the issue. And I found what was the issue that I was, the sort of problem that I was having when I was doing this. Okay? And I'm going to show you here quickly. So I'm going to load this, and I see I'm working on this project, and this project has, look how many versions of this software it has, this version it has of this actual project. So I'm going to show you like the ending of the first pass that I did, and I think it's in file 10. Okay. So I'm going to draw this. I'm going to change this horrible material of hate. I'm going to frame this. Okay. And I'm gonna show you this. Okay, so I think I'm gonna solo, and I got this. Okay, so I press Control and I was doing these things. Okay, now the way I did this, I started with a sphere. I'm gonna solo here, and I did the head. Okay, the basic head. Okay, and I did just simple things like just create a mask, and I pulled this out. I sculpted it. Blah blah blah. I was happy with this. I said, well, that looks actually. I want to do a female, so I was looking at the female form and say how the form is, and then obviously I went there and I did a lot of research in terms of proportions, or how the proportion will be on the female, and then I found out that let me show you here quickly on my this is my PureRef. Let me see. This is my PureRef sort of reference guide. I have this is my main reference, and I done pretty much 3 things here. I got this book, very old book that I have, and it's called Anatomy for Artists. And I think if you ever find it, this is the cover. You can get it if you want. I don't know how much it costs at the moment, but this is very old. I had this from a long time ago. And I have all of them here. So what I'm doing is every time I need something, I pull it out and I put it on a part, and then I start working on it. And I just sort of look at it and just start studying it. The second thing as well that I normally do, I went to this website called Anatomy 360, and you can download all these things for free if you register with them. And these are like a really good poses and examples, so you can have a look at anatomy. And then the ones that I chose was sort of like this, an athletic figure, and these are really good for like things, the profile and things like that, and just to have a look at the anatomy, how the body move, poses, okay. And these are all free. And you can just download it. Obviously, if there is a pay version, if you want to pay for it, then you have more access to different models, more advanced and more variety. But for now, this is good enough for me. This is one artist as well that I really like, Cameron Hart, I think it's called. And I like the way he sort of designed female figure with the big eyes, but it's quite sort of stylized and realistic at the same time. But don't like the ones that are borderline caricature. But I like this one, for example, this sort of design. And I said, well, I might be able to implement some of this if I want to stylize my character. So if I decide if I want to stylize my character, I would probably go for this. But I wanted to make it sure that it was quite accurate in terms of proportions. For proportion, I chose these 2 images. Female form, just to get the proportion with the heads. So you see 1, 2, 3, 8 heads. This is the idealized sort of female and male size, sort of like a hero-like proportion. And then this is like more like a realistic one. So this is the realistic adult proportion, and I think this one was called idealistic or something. And idealized. And then here as well the same, the idealized proportion of the adult head. And I just followed these sort of guidelines to produce the head. And I think I found this really cool as well in Anatomy 360, this little thing with the hand, so I can see the hand from different angles, and then I sort of sculpted a little bit of that. Now, the method that I shown you guys is one of the methods which I believe was the easiest to implement. Okay, because I've been teaching this module for 5 years. I tried all methods. I tried all methods of doing like set spheres, set sketching, all that stuff, and I found that the one from this artist that we talked about, the name of the artist is Shane Olson. That what you can do is you can find a simple way to create some sort of stylized character. And I remember we were working with stylized characters. So a lot of the things that you were supposed to do was just you starting putting things together, think if it works, get the proportions correct, invest time in it, and then trying to be more proactive about this development. I know we just plan situations and stuff, but it's coronavirus, time, slot, all that, we will take that into consideration. But I try for this project that method. For me, I didn't produce something that I was happy with. So I went for the first method that I just shown you here. The first method is just spheres. Okay, and if I wanted to do, for example, I broke down the head, I sort of sculpted it. I use my reference that I just shown you here. Where is my reference? Here. And I think one of the key ones there that I was doing when I was doing the head, because I wasn't doing any features, was this. Okay? Just the female head and the male head. So to find what was different between a male head and a female head. Because I was finding out that every time I was doing because I done more male face. So what was the issue? The issue that I found out, that I researched, was here, the forehead is very squarish and protrusive for the male. The female is not. I think other thing as well was the shape of the head. It was a little bit more bigger eyes. I think a bigger eye socket than the male in terms of comparison with the face, in terms of proportion. And one of the key things that I was making a mistake, guys, is that this thing, and it was here, right here in spot, is that the size of the head should roughly fit in a box. So from the distance from here to here will be roughly the distance from here to here. And that was my mistake. I was making that critical mistake that was giving me something that I wasn't happy with. And if you can see here, this is not really looking like a box. So if I go here and I append a box, just a cube, and I'm just gonna move it up. Oops, not that, but that. Oops, I meant to do this, but okay, that. I'm just gonna solo it. And I'm just gonna select this and I'm gonna transparent so I can see. So if I move this guy down a little bit, you can see that I wasn't really hitting the spot there when it comes to the head, you see? So I said, well, I'm having some sort of issue in there, I need to fix that. Okay, so, and the reason for that is that when I was doing all this, okay, I was doing the upper torso, which was just following the anatomy studies and then how to do the upper torso and just in terms of proportions. And then I did this part as well, the breast, and then I did the legs separate. They're all separate at the moment. And then the arms separately, okay. And I was like, well, I am not happy with this. I was happy with the legs and the hands, I think the arms were a little bit too short. So I said, well, I'm gonna go and follow this, one second, proportions, this, and trying to follow where does it fit, 1 head, 2 head, 3 head, 4 head. So what I did was, I went, and I mentioned this to you several times when I would give you feedback, is that I would took the head, clip it off at the bottom here, and I made copies, and I did this. And it's pretty simple. What I did was just, the normal classic press control and you make a copy, but obviously I'm making a copy of everything here. Like that. Okay, but I put one, I clipped it, moved it to the side, and then make copies, copy, control, click, until I was having this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heads. What you tell me, and then this head would tell me, okay, the arms are too short, the arms, and I said, you know what, I like it. I'm gonna keep it there because I like the legs. I like some of the aspects of the upper torso, and I think actually this upper torso here is much better than the one that I've just find that I did at the final, and I think, okay, this is the one I like. But some aspect of it I didn't like, which was the length of this system here. And I got this book that I bought called Anatomy for Sculptors, and this book is really good. I bought this book 2-3 months ago on a PDF, and it tells you exactly what you need to do in terms of where to go, okay, what to do and what are the landmarks of the body, of the human body, and things like, you know, the pose, things like tips and proportion, the volumes, how the things are built, and I think it was very helpful. So I took that on board, and I found out more things about the anatomy that I was doing wrong. And I think I said, well, I like this one, but you know what? I'm gonna give you another go, and I'm gonna see if I can actually take the method of Shane Olson and implement it in an actual photorealistic sort of way, or like sort of a realistic way. So I said I like the legs, and I actually reused the legs at the end. I sort of reused the arms. The arms, I was very unhappy with the fact that the biceps looks too long. Why this looks too long? This is too much. Looks like sort of more of a male form. The trapezoid were too big, and I think, okay, I like some bits, but I don't like others. So so far the legs I like the shape, but I improved it drastically in the other one. So here I did the head thing that I told you, just make a copy, clip it, and if you want to show me how to do it, what I did was I took the head, I duplicated the head, then I moved it, without symmetry, transform, click activate symmetry or press X, move it to the side, press Ctrl Shift, and I did the slice curve, okay, and I just slice it there, no slice, sorry, the trim, I was getting confused, trim curve, and then I just trim this out, something like that, just roughly, okay, and then I did was I went here and I press Control. I've shown you this before. You press Control, click and drag, you make a copy. Control, click and drag, make another copy. Control, click and drag, make another copy. You know you need, according to my reference, you need 8. So what you do is, instead of doing that again, you just press Control, click and drag to clear the mask, and then you press Control, click, and then you make a copy of the whole thing, and you get 8 heads. And you can use this as a reference for that. Now, in terms of stylization, this looks quite okay, but I wanted to do something more with the right proportions. So, like I said at the beginning, I found out that I made a mistake with the head. And the head not necessarily was fitting in the box, so I fixed that later on. But I realized about that later on, a later stage. So what I did was I created a new version using the Shane Olson system. So I'm gonna go and show you that now. So sort of like the end version of that. See what I achieved and what I learned from it. And I gave it a go to the face, to the head. But again, it was something off that I wasn't happy with, you know? So I'm gonna reinitialize this so I don't have anything open. Well, I can probably leave it there so I can actually review it. So I'm gonna click this button, because at the moment, if you wanna bring another subtool here, or in this section, at the moment you only got one subtool. So if I click to load subtool, it will replace this one. So I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna switch to 2.5. You see, you remember the 2.5D thing that I told you at the beginning? You press Control and you clear the canvas. You still got this guy here available, but then you can just bring another one to having here. So I'm gonna bring that one, which is sort of the second version. And then I'm just gonna draw it, I'm gonna put it there, and I give it a go to the face, okay? So this is the sort of Shane Olson system, okay? And I'm gonna show you what it looks like, as in the actual work. You see, this is the stuff that we did. See, I said, well, I might be able to. There are some things that I like. I think I managed to actually get a good view of what one of the key differences between the female and the male in terms of anatomy, which is the hip bones. The hip area here is very different. So if I show you that, you can see I actually did it, and even though it's overlapping side, but it sort of gave me like a good idea of the form, the shape, and the depth that I need to achieve. So I did the rest of the stuff as usual, as I told you from the beginning to use it, and as I did it in the no sound videos that I did. those videos, remember guys, those videos I did them for you so you can actually look at them, stop and write down the time, and then ask me questions about it, and I will be happy to show to everybody that. But nobody came with that, so I guess in that everybody was following this accordingly, I guess. So I did the things and I put this stuff in there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a go. But I found out if I want to do correct anatomy with this, it was quite tricky, the shoulders, and I wasn't really paying attention what the landmarks is and how the shoulders were connected to the scapula bone and the clavicle bone. So I did the stuff that I showed you, which is combine everything, set remesh, Dynamesh, smooth it, subdivide, and then keep working. And I got to this point, and then at the end I combine them all, and I say, well, let's have a look what I have. Okay. So I said, I hate the shoulders, they're not right, they're too pointy, and I think it's the fact that by doing this way, for me it was quite difficult to sort of create the volumes correctly, and this was too square. Fine, I wasn't happy with it, but I learned something from there. I said, okay, now I got a good vision how the hip bone is in place. I studied it, I went through the book Anatomy for Sculptors, I went through my reference, and I found out, okay, this is really good. I found out as well that the rib cage was too short, and I said, well, it had to be a little bit longer, and then I studied the muscles and all that. I know about the muscles, but I didn't know how subtle it could have been with the female. I think the key thing about the female anatomy is that is you want to do this, you have to do it quite subtle, you have to do it too muscular like I was doing it. It was like, this is no. And even though you will see that in the final, it still looks a little bit muscular, but it looks a bit more for what I'm aiming for. And then I'm going to give you another pass to make it a little bit more natural. But anyway, so I did that, and I gave it a go to the face. Okay. And then the face, I gave it a go. I think I put this a little bit more like a box, like I talked to you about. And I think I said, well, there is something off in here that I just don't know what it is. This section here, it was wrong. So there's something here that I don't like. Okay. Let's say I like the nose. Okay, I like the nose. That could a little bit of a first pass. That's okay. But the lips is the one that I really like. I said, well, I might be able to reuse these lips later on. So I decided, okay, I am happy with some aspect of this. I learned some from this, but I wasn't happy with it. So I'm going to start again. So you're going to start again with something else. I'm going to take some of the elements here that I like, and then take it from there. And I did the same thing with the heads. Okay, I did the same thing with the heads. And following this, it was sort of looking okay, but look at the length of the arm. The arms were looking too long. It just, this arm was no. I said, well, if I want to use the other arms, I'm going to use the other arm, not this one. And I think this one was a bit, it didn't look natural to me, you know. I like the legs, I like the torso here, the breast, okay. I think there needs to be more volume in here, depending on the size. Here, like I said, I like this area here, but I don't like this area here. Again, I did some more anatomy studies in terms of the reference that I've shown you, and I found out that the head is a little bit too small in here. The forehead, I like the forehead that is going in, but it needs to be a bit more. I think if you look at the character from this angle, face, for example, this one, honestly, there is too much volume in here. Okay, the eyes, guys, the eyes is too big, and I didn't find out until later. Another thing as well, guys, that's pretty normal is that you go blind. As in, when you see something all the time, if you're working on this for 20, 30 hours, you think it's looking good, but then you go out for a break, or have a sleep, have a nap, or have a drink, or go for a friend, come back and it's like, oh my god, what am I thinking? This is off. That is pretty normal as well. You go blind because you've been looking at that stuff for so long. So again, I like this area. This area was killing me. So there's something wrong in here, but I just can't figure it out. I don't like this. I like that. I think the one that I from the beginning was the legs that I like. I think the legs were quite okay in terms of the knee, the proportion, the feet as well. When I did the feet as well, it's still rough, but I think the shapes are there, and I was very happy with it. I was very happy with that aspect, but I wasn't happy with the rest. So again, so I decided, okay, this was worthwhile. And again, I think I learned about the hip bone. I said, okay, that's how it's connected. That's okay. That's good. So I learned something. So I then went and I gave it a third pass. Okay. And the third pass, I invested some time in terms of I based more of my anatomy study on the actual book, Anatomy for Sculptors. And I think I found out quite a few things that I was missing. And I think at the beginning I identified about the head size. So anyways, if I had the head size wrong, it things like that. You see it this way, you had the head size wrong, and then you use that head size which is wrong to measure the rest of the body, then the rest of the body is going to look off because the head is not correct. So once I fixed that, everything fit into place. For me, at least for me. I'm still not happy with a few things that I need to polish. But I came to a point that I found out what was the issue that I was having with the head, that area and the eyes. And it had all to do with the eyeball size. The eyeballs were too big. Again, based on research and anatomy and studies, there is a rule that apparently the width of the head should be 6 eyes balls width. In terms of you put 6 eyes ball next to one, and you put that should be the size, the width of the head. So the size, the eyeballs that I was using were too big. Okay, and that's what was causing that issue. So I'm gonna open the final one, which is the one that I'm very happy with so far. And I'm just gonna switch this, so I'm going back to 2.5D. You see, the two guys are here, the two tools, but I'm in 2.5D temporarily, so I just like to do it this way. So I'm gonna clear this, and I'm just gonna load the final one, which is this one. Okay, and this is what I have so far. Okay, oops. So I'm gonna press Control N to clean this, and this is the side of the head that I did. This is my final head. Okay, now you can see, for some reason I was doing the eyes too big. Now the eyes has a right size, and everything fits into place, guys. Everything. I took the lips from the other one, and I just put them here, and I just connected them, and I start polish them. And I end up saying, well, actually this looks natural. I follow the rules that I told you many times about the tip of the ears, go around roughly around where the middle of the eyebrows are. The other thing that you can do as well is the eyes. Normally we go in this direction. Eyelids shouldn't be at the same sort of line. If you draw a line like that vertically, and you touch the top eyelid, the bottom eyelid shouldn't be touched. It should be in an angle like this. Okay. The nose, and this is another mistake I was making. The nose, when you do the nose normally in the past I used to do it as well, not for a long time, but at the beginning I was doing the nose starting from here. And then as you look at it, touch your face, and you see from the side view where your nose starts. Your nose starts halfway where your lips are. Some there. And then there is a volume as well here because of the teeth and all the tissue and all that. The eyes as well should be sort of the distance, and I mentioned before, the distance that you have in one eye here, roughly, should be the distance that you have in the middle here. So it should be 1 eye, 2 eye, 3rd eye here. 4th and 5th should be in total 6 eyes in terms of the eyeball. I'm taking into consideration as well this, I don't know how you call this, the tear duct, I suppose, yeah. And I get this. I say, okay, but that's something that I did later on. The face I did later on. But let me show you the other face that I did. So I did this face, and I had another face somewhere here. This face. Okay, that's not that. This face. Look at this face. Okay, it looks good in many aspects, but again, if you compare this with this one looks more stylized. I could have gone away with it, but there was something off in this. And again, it was the issue that the head was too long. So I had a head that was wrong from the beginning. So the other head is a little bit more boxy, square, you see? Okay, so that, I use that, and when you put that together, if you follow those simple guidelines, then you be in the right place. Start doing your character. So the moment the head looks a little bit bigger at the back, but that's not a problem because once you put hair, it's fine. It's fine. So the other thing as well that I learned is that the head is not round like this. It's a box as well, with a little bit of the width here, smaller than that. So you get like a sort of, how's the shape of that? Trapezoid, I suppose, or something like that. So you should have now a smaller version, a smaller distance here than you have in there, and that should be round. And then the width of the head, normally the thickest part of the head from the front should be roughly where the middle of the head is, somewhere around this area. and this is what it is, this area here. So you can see now that you have a little bit of a better shape here, there, and as well the jaw. The jaw as well is one of the things that I was making wrong, was making it too big. It was looking too male, okay? So I'm gonna show you how to paint this today, roughly how to start the painting process of this. And then another thing as well that I did, and I think it's quite beneficial for you guys, is that the eyes, when I paint the eyes, and I painted this eye by just painting them quickly, just using like you were painting Photoshop. And I'm gonna show you how to do all this in a second. So you see this, now let me hide all this stuff, like that. You can see that the character has a little bit of a natural look, okay? And if I give you a render to this, just a quick pass render there, with the shadows, then you can see that however the light hits here, okay, it sort of had this sort of nice, clean, smooth look. And by the way, guys, the makeup thing is just a mask that I painted. And I'll show you that as well, because it makes a big difference when you're doing your character and you put a little bit of makeup to like the eyebrows and the lips, and then everything start looking a little bit more natural. So I put a little bit of sort of fake makeup here, I suppose, and then I can paint that out. We can paint that out today, and I'll show you how to do that. But I'm gonna have to talk about how to process this head so you can start painting it. Okay. So let me see the time. Okay, we got plenty of time. So as you can see, I did it 3 times. Pretty normal. Okay. If you're not happy with something, start again. Again, I told you. Don't delete what you done already. Keep it, because you might be able to get some stuff in there. Because like I did, for example, if I had deleted the other stuff, I could not use the legs. The legs I reused it from the first one, which I was really happy with. So you know, I went there, opened it, took the head, blah blah blah, done. In fact, when I did the other face at the beginning, I did his face, okay, and I said, well, I did this, and I said, this is too long. I find out this is too long. Then I took the head, I cut it out. Took the other head, I cut it out, and then I combined them. Later on, I combined them like that and said, okay, and I used this to say, well, what is wrong with his face? And then I start pushing. Oh, okay, the length of the face was too long, the eyes. So look at this as well, where the position of the eyes are too outside in comparison with this one. Huh? So the eyes of the other one were like here, too out. Okay, so that's another thing as well that I did, and it's all about, you know, pushing and pulling, and until something start looking right, and obviously following as well the guidelines that you get from research and from actual just using reference. Okay, so again, the thing that was selling this guy was the eyeball. The eyeballs that I was doing were like, God, were like about this side. Look at the size of the stamp of the brush. I was doing the eyes this big, and that was completely wrong. I said, I never thought that the eyes were that small actually with comparison with the rest of the head. But if you show this and do that, you can see that they are fairly okay. And if you take this one, what I did was I followed the guidelines that I found on the internet. So you take the width of this, that should be 6 of them here. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, roughly. And then when you made that copy, I did the same thing that I did with the head. I took one eye, excised what I think it was. I'll make a copy, put it here, and I started making 6 copies. And then obviously my size was getting up to here. So what I did was I scale it, and then when that big size, that 6 size eye right around this point, that's it, that's my size, I said myself. Then I went and that's providing that you're happy with the proportions of the head, obviously. Then what I did was I took that, did auto groups to all the head, all the eyes, Control Shift click on one eye, hit the other one, delete hidden, and keep that one moved to there, put it in position, mirror to the other side, and then, man, when I did that, it was like magic. Everything fit into place. I said, oh my God, that looks like an actual face now. Before it looks like it was like somebody punched her in the stomach and their eyes were about to pop, you know? So and I was like, I was trying to figure out what was the issue, but I finally figured it out. So again, third time lucky, try until I was happy with. Okay, so I'm gonna go through as well, like I said, the painting of this and how to start the painting process of doing poly painting. Okay, and I'm gonna talk about the poly painting and what it means and what other options you have. Has anybody got a question about this? Anybody?
Yeah, how did you like make the detail in the eyes? I was tabbed out for a little bit.
What, the actual painting?
Yeah,
Yeah,
or is
that's-
that poly painting you're about to get into?
We are definitely gonna cover that in a second. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Because I think the way it's done this, let me show you. The way it's done this is like I faked the actual eye in terms of like the detail. If you see it from the side here, it looks obviously painted on top. But ideally, in the real world, it should be like a glass sort of look. But we are leaving everything inside ZBrush, so you're not gonna be able to get that sort of glass look. But it's good enough for you to showcase your work, which is at the end of the day what we want. We want to use ZBrush as a concepting tool. Okay, it just happens to be in 3D. Okay. Anybody else? Holly, do you would like to add anything or?
No, I'm happy for you to start talking about the painting, Louis.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let me go through and I'll show the body of this, and then so we can go through the anatomy quickly here, and then we're gonna start doing the painting. Okay, the poly painting. So okay, so let me show you the body. So I did, like I said, I did all this stuff. I did all these things that I cut out and start putting things together, mash it together, and then I start moving this thing, because this is the head that I had before, and I was happy with some things, but not all of them. And then I came out with this, and then I mess it up again. You can see that the proportions, the head here is too off. And you can see that, remember the one I showed, so it goes round and then square, and you can see that this section was protruding too much, and it was giving that sort of male look. This stuff, it was wrong. So I had to scale that down because I was using the eyes too big, and then I was thinking that if the eyes are actually that side, then I will have to rearrange everything, and then everything goes wrong. So that's one thing as well that I learned. So I end up with this. I got the eyes here, and then the body is this. Okay, so the body. Let me show you. No, it's not that one. It's this. Okay. So I end up with this. Okay. So here that's being detailed way more. I finally got happy with the arms. So I found out what was the issue I was having. Still not happy 100% with this section. The landmark here, that was one of the keys that I was missing. The traps were too big and still a little bit too big. I can easily just move it down. And the hip bones, I learned from the hip bone from the past, and I think now when you put in this profile like that, it has a good pose, because if I render here, you can see that there are some clean lines that goes like this. So normally when you're doing the female character, look at this, you get this line, you're trying to hit this marker. If you draw a line like this, look at this line there, and then look at this line how it goes. It sort of wraps around with the leg, look. When you do this, and you can do that in your model, then you know that you have a nice clean pose, okay? That helps. I think as well it goes like this, and as well you got line that goes like this, and yeah, there are many on the internet you can have a look, and then here as well. But things like, for example, the arms for the female normally they are more arc outside than the male. Things like the landmark here, the bone you got there, the clavicle bone, the scapular bone, backbones here. All those things are trying to hit it as much as I could, and then I sculpted the hands a little bit based on the anatomy picture that I'm showing you. It's still not 100%, but okay, I guess. But this one here, because I had the head correctly, I used that as my head proportion, and everything fit into place. I don't know if I had the proportion here. But what I did as well, like I told you, I went there and I took things from the other one and I brought it back in, cut it down, scale it, and then I reused them. Okay, because I wanted to, wasn't gonna go and redo that again when I was happy with that. Okay, so when you do that, then you know everything start looking correct. I think there's still some section here in this area that I don't like, Um, um, but yeah, it still needs. I like the legs at the moment. I like the arms. Definitely the arms is they're what I wanted. But then this section here needs a little bit more work. I think this area here is too long. I think. So I need to sort of think about if that is actually hitting the target or not. I just have to resize it and then do a little bit of rear adjustment until I'm happy with it. But so far, the one that I'm definitely set is the face. I think the face is final. I think I'm happy with that. Okay. So when it comes to painting, okay, and I think I'm gonna start with that now. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna duplicate it, and I'm just gonna move it all the way down here. Okay, and I want to talk to you a little bit about. Let me duplicate the eyes as well. Well, let's do it like that. I'm gonna create new eyes. I think we can have a look. Okay, let's leave it like that. Okay, so now you will have your character to this sort of level in terms of the polygon you have. You can see this head here is 1.4 million polygons. If you check the geometry, it's really high res. Now, you will see, okay, that the geometry has a lot of sort of patches and colors and things like that. In areas, some area has a bit more detail to that. That is a feature that is in ZBrush here. You don't have to use it for your project, because it's just when I was doing the sort of sketching of this, I was using that because I wanted to add a little bit more detail here and there. And it's pretty much is this section here, this button here, which is called the Sculptris Pro. Not necessarily for you guys to do your stuff, you don't have to. But Sculptris Pro, what it does is, as you are doing sculpting, you could say, well, I'm gonna work a little bit more because I'm gonna put some wrinkles in here. Or if I have this, then probably not enough detail, so I can add a detail on the spot. And you can just activate this button to any sort of brushes that you use. So what I do is, if you want to add more details to this temporarily, you press Shift, because that's smoothing. But if you click this, then you can actually use the Sculptris mode for any brush that you have selected. So if you press Shift, look what happens when I do this. You see, it added different geometry. In this case, it added it less because it's depending on the brush size. So if I make the brush size pretty small and I press Shift, you can see that I started using more detail on that area. And it's a little bit heavy to use. You can see there's a little bit of a lag. But now, that geometry hasn't changed anything, but the geometry there, has more detail. And I did that when I was working on things like the lips. Here, this line, because this line was getting too sort of like jagged, and I said, well, I'm gonna smooth it out and add more, so when I do the line, it will be nice and clean. This is completely something that I'm gonna be able to reuse later, because I cannot use that. But my point is, let me undo what I just did there. My point is that if you continue working on this and poly painted it with this, it will not be very efficient, because you will not have an even distribution of polygons. You will have some polygons that are fairly big, another one that's very, very, very small. And then when you start painting that, the amount of detail that you will invest in this will be different from the amount of time the amount of painting you will put in here, because when you're doing painting in ZBrush, you're actually not painting on UVs or anything, or at least at the beginning, you are painting on the polygons. And because you have millions of polygons, then you can get some really highly detailed sort of textures. Now, now in these days, everybody uses Substance Painter and Substance Designer to do texturing. You can still use, I use texturing in ZBrush so many times. I still use it. If it's easier for me, I can use this one. Depending on what I do. If I'm for gaming, then probably, yeah, I will use straight away Substance Painter or Substance Designer. But you can see here that there is a lot of artifacts. Look at these little artifacts. Look at this sort of pinching and little point, because you're using Dynamesh. When you're using Dynamesh, it just gives you all this nice geometry, even as possible, but it doesn't care about pinching and things like that. So what happens is, when you have those pinchings, you can see that there is a little bit of an artifact there. You can see those little sort of highlights. You see those? And those are produced because there is a big disparity between this polygon count and this polygon count. You can see that line there is this line that is forming here. So If I try to paint this, it will give me some nice detail here, but here you start seeing that this gets really sharp and then suddenly blur because I'm painting on the polygon. So what you have to do, you have to clean this up. And I think that is this step that I've shown you from last couple of weeks, which is when you merge everything together, you make a copy, you set remesh it, and then you project the detail. And this is what we're going to do now, and then we're going to start painting, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this one, the duplicate, and I'm just going to hit everything else. So I'm going to duplicate again, and then this one here, I'm going to set remesh it, okay? And set remesh is this process that I've shown you in the tutorials, that what you do is you take a piece of geometry and you sort of create like a temporary low-res version that sort of has a nice flow of geometry that goes around the shapes and is evenly distributed as possible, okay? So there is no need to have a target specifically. You need to make 10,000, 20,000, no, it's up to you. You can probably start with 20,000, 30,000, because at the end of the day, you're going to be painting on the high poly, which is the 3-4 million polygons. So what you do is you just give it a pass to this. I make a copy, I duplicated it, I have the other one there. So here, I'm going to give it a go to set remesh, okay? I don't have levels because I deleted them earlier. Before when I was working, I don't need levels. I'm just going to do that because I'm going to set remesh it. So again, I want to get rid of this sort of pinching things here and there because I want to continue working on this model, have more like wrinkles and pores and scratches and whatever, but I need to have something that's a little bit cleaner in terms of geometry wise. This is too messy, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a go to this. So let's start with something like, this is in the thousands, the target count. So it's 15, let's say 20 something thousand. He's going to try to hit this target the best he can. And then I'm going to go and hit this button, set remesh, okay? I mentioned in the tutorial, you can actually go here, use set remesh guide, and you can just draw where you think want those loops to happen. And it will, the algorithm will try to match that shapes. I'm not going to do it here now because we're only just showcasing this and it will take longer to me to do that. But if you want to do that, that's fine. If you don't do it, that's okay as well. Okay? So I'm going to hit this Z remesh button and see what happens. So while we were with this, guys, anybody got any question?
Yeah, you said that Z-Remesher was temporary. Does that mean that it will disappear?
Temporary means that you're going to have a low res, which is temporary, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to subdivide it, and then you're going to paint on the highest res. So you're going to have that just for you as a base for you to start having a low res version. And I'll show you later on a little bit what I mean. Why would you have a low res? Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. As in, well, yeah, I suppose, yeah, that explains it. So you can see here, look. Now look at this. This is nice and clean, look. I have, oops, why did I do that? I have now something that is fairly clean, okay? Because I have my geometry quite clean, it sort of gave me a really good starting point. So I can leave it with, look, it tried to hit 20,000, but I couldn't, so it made 40,000. But look at this, this is clean. This is clean, that's good, that's fine, okay? So, what happened now? I only got 40,000, and obviously by having 40,000 polygons, I lost a lot of the detail. Even though I have a good clean geometry there, even this one is a little bit of pinching there, but that's fine. I have this to start doing my work. So okay, now with this one, I will have something that is cleaner for me to work. But with 40,000 polygons, you cannot do much painting, okay? So what we have to do is we have to actually recreate the detail that we have in the higher res, which is this one, the old one, this one here. This is the old one. You can see that there's a little bit more better shapes here, a little bit of a bump there, there's a nice definition. And if you see here, another thing you can do is have a look at the lips. There is a little bit of detail on the lips, you see? Very tiny, not much. But if you go back to this, you see it's all gone because the topology doesn't allow me to have that level of detail, okay? So what happened is we are going to have to get that detail back somehow. So I mentioned this in the tutorial before. So what you have to do is you subdivide this to a level that you think is good enough. So divide 163,000, divide 600,000, divide 2.6 million. You see I got 2.6 million. That looks nice. But now let's have a look at the other one. The other one has a little bit more detail. Look, you can see it. Look, this is the old one with a little bit of a better shape there, a little bit of a more definition here. These hard edges in here, the lips. That detail is all gone because the subdivision of the low res doesn't know that I had really high detail in 1.2 million that I have in this one. Okay, so it doesn't know. This is 2.3, this is 1.4. Even this is with less polygon, it has more definition in terms of detail because they were actually sculpted. This one is just a subdivision. It's just like when you divide something in Maya, you subdivide, and that's it. Just subdivide. You can see I lose all the detail. So we need to recover that. And in order to recover that, there is a tool called the projection tool. The project section here. See, this is here and project. The way this works is you need to select the one you want to project the detail to, have the one that you want to project the detail from visible, make sure it's visible, because if that is not visible, the button get grayed out, it doesn't work, got nothing to project from. And then when you do this, you see the button goes there. Now these settings here, you can find out more if you press Control, click and hold. It will tell you what they do, okay? And you can play around with them and see if that is something that you need to adjust. Because the original, Z Rematch was quite close to this, that's fine. It's okay. So now look at this. This is the old one. Look at all the detail. This is the new one. Now, how do we pass the detail on with this button, Project All? You need to have the one that you want to project to select the detail to here, select it. You hit Project All. It runs on algorithms. Takes a little bit of time because it's for 2.6 million polygons. And then it will pass all that information to that. I should have saved. I hope it doesn't crash. Takes a little bit of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for this to happen, and then you're going to start seeing that the detail here in the lips start getting back, the details in the eyes start getting back, because you are actually projecting it. So what I mean by projection is that it looks, the low res looks at the high res, or the new one looks at the old one and says, hey, this point here, close to a distance based on this number, say, is it close enough? Yes. Okay, make sure that point is moved back to that position. So what it does, it just pretty much like shrink wrap around. It's like creating a cast, a model. Put it around to match the original, which is the one that we just did the Z Rematch from. You can see here, look, this is the old one, 1.4. This is a new one. You don't see any difference, look. And we pretty much can actually take this guy, delete it, keep it there if you want, and then start working on this. But now this guy has some really nice clean topology. Look. And the bonus is that you can go here and you can go to the lowest level. Look, I'm going to the lowest. I can go one level up, start getting smoother, one level up, smoother, and one level up to the highest. And I didn't lose anything. Look, I still got the detail. If I go to this, the detail is still stored in this section on level 4. Look. So, because this one has this sort of issue here, it is still that issue brought in. So you can have now the option to go here and check this, because this is get checked on by default. So you go here and press Shift and then smooth out those little pinches that you have in there. But it's very subtle. Okay. There's pinching here as well. See, it's gone now. This pinching as well here, that's projected from the old one. But now when I smooth, it sort of goes away. There's a little bit more improvement here. Okay. I think, yeah, got symmetry on. Yeah, so that's the last touch up you do. So now you have a mesh that you are ready to start painting. And just to test here something, I'm gonna go here and I'm just gonna, if I move to the lowest, this is what I have, okay? This is the lowest, this is the highest. So I need to paint on the highest. Because just like a texture in Photoshop, if you paint, let's say that this level is a texture that is 256 by 256 pixels, if you wanna paint something, it's gonna look quite pixelated. But if you paint on something that is 4K, by going all the way up, then you will start seeing more detail. It's the same principle here, because we are painting on the polygons. When we do painting, we're painting on the polygons. Now, temporarily. If you want to get that texture out of this, then there is an extra process, and that process is the UVing of a low res, doing the retopologizing and doing all that stuff together, and then doing the exporting of the textures. That is something else. That's a bit more advanced. We're not going to cover that because at the beginning we say we're going to keep everything inside ZBrush because it's your year one. Okay, I don't expect you to take everything out from ZBrush. I just want you to get how to use the software. That's all. Okay, so again, a low res version, a high res version, they are sort of interweb here in a single file. Okay, a single subtool. It's all the information there. Okay, so if I want to start painting this, okay, at the moment this is a gray material. Okay, material has that gray sort of element to it. So if I want, I can just start with something like this, skin shade 4, which you can choose it from here, and that's white with no sort of color to it. And this probably would be a good starting point for your model. Okay, there is some other fancy models in here, sort of shading models, the materials. That probably they are not very particularly helpful for your painting because it has some sort of color built in. Okay, so I advise you to, for skin and things like that, just use skin. For things like metal and stuff like that, you can use one of these metal ones, like I think it's called the normally the bling will be okay for metal stuff, I suppose. Now for the eyes, I use this one, which is the toy plastic toy or something, somewhere around here. Reflected plastic.
Go right. Right of
Toy
it.
plastic,
There we
there
go.
you go. That's the one that I use for the eye. You can see because it has a sort of core highlight that mimic like the wetness of the eyes, and that's why the eyes look like that, because I assigned that material to it. Okay, and this is something that we're gonna talk in a second. Now, I'm pretty sure, and I'm gonna go here to not soft plastic but to skin. I'm pretty sure you all have this issue that you're working on something, suddenly this happens, and you don't know what happened. Okay, why my model is red? Why my model is so? Every time I go to a different model, they're all red, or they're all with a different color, or you do this, or they go green, or whatever. You know, that's because we are choosing a color here. Okay, and the reason this changes as we move along here, this is just a wheel thing, just like in Photoshop. And I want to explain how this works because you know you come across Photoshop and all this painting software so many times. I'm pretty sure you know. So what happened here is that I'm choosing a color and it's automatically ZBrush is assigning that color for me automatically. Okay, now. Which means that, okay, so how do I paint? If I want to start painting this character, let's say the character is going to be a normal skin character, and I want to go through a little bit of the theory behind it. Let's say I want to start painting it, I don't know, with a base color like this, okay? And I say, well, okay, I'm going to start with this color, and then I'm going to start painting a little bit more, I don't know, red in the cheeks. Then every time you change this, it happens, it changes, okay? And that's very counterproductive because you need to have something to start with. So what you have to do is you have to actually take that character or that model and then fill it up with a color, a base color, okay? And make sure you're in the highest resolution of the model, the highest level. In this case, I am in level 4. For you, it could be level 5, level 6, it doesn't matter. As long as you have something in the millions, 2, 3 million, you'll be, for a head, 2.6 million would be a very good starting point to paint your model, okay? So you have this. Okay, and then you say, well, I'm going to start with a sort of base color. Okay, now what we're going to do is, and I think just to mention this, if you go online, and I think this is pretty standard, if you go online, if you type, I don't know, color zone in the face for artists, you will get something like this. And this is something that is fairly used on the art side, and I think that's how you normally follow your painting process, because nothing is 100%. If you put you paint a face, you know that the skin color tone is sort of in the warm sort of reddish. Nothing is 100% red. Okay, you will have tones of yellows, you will have blues, you will have reds, you will have greens a little bit, and you will have the base color. Okay, and that's something that's pretty common when it comes to painting the face. And this is always something that's being done by scientists and artists that they sort of work out how the face is painted. And normally they will have sort of about 3 main zones, which is the yellow zone, which is around the forehead, which is normally there's more yellows in there because the skin is closer to the bones, and then the bones normally associate with the yellow colors, roughly, the yellowish in color. So the yellow will sort of go more there. The here would be more red because there are more vessels and you have a little bit more veins and things like that, and then that would bring that red as well. There's some blues as well here, but normally as well there is a lot of blue and green around this area, especially in the male because of the beard. You will have some sort of, even when you shave, you see that you will have sort of like a, you know, color in there that is a little bit of the from the hairs inside the skin. That's what happens when you never shave your hair, and then you shave it for the first time. Your hair looks green, pretty much blue, because you never first you're never having direct contact with the sun, and suddenly all the hair that is there, because it's accumulating under your scalp, then that color normally is between green and blue. So that's what it looks like that. Okay, and then so the same principle happens in here, and I think you will find plenty of reference for this, and I think this is the main colors, but then you will have as well a little bit like blues around his area, and yellows because of the cheekbones, a little bit of sort of neutral color because of the cartilage in the nose and the bones, red in the nose because there's a lot of vessels as well there, like I said, and there's a little bit always the lips go a lot red and blue because of the veins, and then there's a lot of blue in the male around this area because of the beard. And pretty much this is roughly what you have to follow when it comes to painting a normal sort of way. But if you were doing stylized character and your character is blue or green, that's fine, guys. Just try not to paint just, oh, the character is green and it's boom, green, that's it. Nothing is 100% green. And I think I always give the example. Like if you see like the old Hulk, the original Hulk, or the original films, the Hulk about 10, 15, 20 years ago with Eric Bana and all that, that Hulk, physically, obviously, that was back in the day, the CG was amazing back then. But the Hulk looks so green that really stand out in the on the screen. But then when they did the Avenger or the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe versions with Mark Ruffalo, then they changed that, and actually it looks green, but there is a lot of blue and red and yellows in the skin, and that's why it looks so good and so natural. Because nothing is 100% green and nothing is 100% red or blue. Okay, so there's always going to be some shades in there, some sort of colors happening in there. And you need to take into consideration when you do your characters. Okay? When you do your character, you paint them, you obviously suit and things like that. Obviously, it's going to be a different color, but when it comes to skin, put a little bit more variation in there because it is necessary. Okay. So still go half an hour before we do a little bit of reviewing, guys. So I'm going to try to go through this as fast as possible. So. Okay, so you need to start off with a little bit of a base color for this, okay? And then normally I'm gonna pick up a color that is a little bit sort of like palish, reddy or yellowish towards the red. Something like this, pinkish, like that, okay? But I want to be just that, my base color in there, okay? So how do I make this color to stay there? Now, first thing you need to do is, you need to fill this model with that color. How do you do that? Mind these buttons here. This button here is that for every brush you have selected here, this is what it's supposed to do by default. Adding, subtracting, which is sculpting, or you can actually paint color or material or both or alpha. Okay? So I'm not going to show the alpha because you don't need to pay black and white alpha. We're not doing transparency. So I'm going to tell them that with this system, I'm going to tell that this brush, the standard, is going to be using RGB, it's not going to be sculpting, and I'm going to fill this model with this color that I selected here. How do I do that? I go into color and I hit this button, fill object. Now it's very important that you have the RGB intensity to 100%, because if you have it to a certain percentage like this, it will only give you 8% of this color. It will blend it with the background color, which is black, white. So I'm gonna put 100% RGB, no add nothing here. With this standard brush is fine. This color, and I'm gonna go into color and I said fill object. When you hit the button, seems like nothing happened, but if you change to green, look what happened. I changed to green and this one didn't change, it stays there. And this is what you want, because now if you want to start painting green, let's say just for this, I'm going to increase the brush, then you can start painting green. And if you want to start painting blue, then you can start painting blue, okay? But you need to have some sort of face color in there, okay? So sort of base color. So now that we have this base color, okay, here, so what do we do next? Okay, so we can go back to the to the reference. Let's show you here quickly. To the reference and talking about this, and then just trying to implement this the best we can. Again, this is just an example. There's many. Your character is stylized, has some colors that you're here, guys, because you have painted something. It's the same. I'm just gonna show you how to paint it in 3D. But it's the same as you were painting in Photoshop, or you were painting in any painting package. Okay. So we're gonna go through sort of this. Okay. So first thing first, I'm gonna give you a pass of red to the whole thing. Okay. But I'm not gonna put a pass of red just doing a pass of red here, and I'm just gonna go and say, okay, I'm gonna paint red. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna choose red, and I'm just gonna go and take this guy, and I'm just gonna do this. No, because obviously just replace it. So we need to sort of find a way to blend it. In order to blend it, we need to use something here slightly different. So we're gonna take the standard brush. We don't need any other brush, that's enough. We take this, we change the stroke to be spray or color spray. And then the alpha, if you want, you can break it down by putting an alpha as well. And then you can put an alpha that is like a little bit like a broken down, something like this. So when I paint this, it will look something like this. You see, it's a little bit of a blending in the colors. So I'm gonna reduce the brush size, and I'm just gonna do this. You can see now that I have sort of like a way of blending this. Okay, I think at the moment is perhaps, let me get rid of the alpha and see what it looks like with the alpha. The same, really. So I can probably reduce the brush size even smaller like this. I can change the intensity of this not too much, for about 20%. And then I'm just gonna give it a pass like this. I can do this. I can just give it a pass. I can make it quite big if I want to. And I just give it a quick pass of just red all over the head. I'm not gonna paint the rest of the head because it will take me forever. And again, I'm just gonna show you here quickly how to just paint, but we don't wanna go through. Maybe I'm gonna invest a little bit of time in the eyes and show you how to do the eyes in a second. Okay. So I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna increase this, and I'm just gonna do that. Okay, a little bit of red here, a little bit of stuff in there. Do this. Red in the lips, red in the nose, red in the eyes. Something like that. I think this is a little bit... Do you think that this is too much? You can actually go back to the original color. And one trick, guys, just to get to the original color. This is difficult because this is here something that has been painted, but here I haven't painted anything. So what you do is you're gonna pick up a color from the viewport. You click here, click and drag without lifting, and then you go here and you pick up that color that you have there. And then you can just go ahead and paint over, just to break down this a little bit, so it doesn't look too obvious. Okay. Okay, that's more like it, ish. Okay, if you want to make it a little bit more interesting, like veins and things like that, we can probably do is we can change the stamp. There is a stamp here which is look like veins, and then here we change the stroke to drag rectangular. And drag rectangular, what it does is just, it doesn't paint like the one we just did. It paints like just clicking and dragging. Whoops. That will be intensity like this. Oh, because I got the same color, I'm gonna choose red again, and I can do not like that. What am I doing? RGB. Okay, what am I doing wrong? Let me see. It doesn't pick it up. I have an issue there. RGB intensity. That is wrong. Let me see. Yeah, that's fine. That works. That works. That should work. Classic, isn't it? Look, it's not picking up the stamp. That might be a bug. Yeah, they're all the same. No, it's not picking up the stamp. Don't know why it doesn't work, guys. Sorry about that. I mean, normally what you do is you take drag rectangular, you choose a stamp, and then when you drag it, you will see it there, but it just doesn't look. It just comes out with the same color. I don't know why. That shouldn't be the case. So it must be a bug. I need to restart set brush. I'm gonna restart set brush now. Anyway, so I'm gonna go into spray or color spray, and then if you do spray like this, look, you see if it works. Is it taking it? No. Why is not? Anyway, for some reason the alpha doesn't work. That's strange. Anyway, we're gonna keep it without alpha for now, but you can choose an alpha. Let me know, guys, if the alpha is not working for you as well at some point. So anyway, so we got this, and then we know that we now have to put a little bit of a, let's say, yellows on top here. So I'm gonna go and choose some sort of yellow there. and then I'm gonna choose, I don't know, 40%. I'm just gonna put a little bit of yellow here, very subtle. Okay. So here like that. I think the theory tells us there's a little bit of yellow here in the nose as well, and the cheekbones a little bit there. A little bit of yellow as well here because the jaw is close to the skin. Okay. A little bit of yellow there, something like that. You see a quick pass. Then there is some blues as well around this area here. I put a little bit of blue there because of all the vessels and things, and put that there. Okay, something like that. There is some blue, I suppose, a little bit here in the nose. No, the nose not much there. Holly, correct me if I'm wrong. You have more experience painting than me.
No, you're doing right. I mean, you're putting down all the facial tones.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is pretty much. At the moment, it looks a bit messy, isn't it? But it will get better. Because you're just putting stuff here, just color tones and things. So I think there's a little bit of blue as well here in the ears because of the veins and things like that. So again, red, a little bit more red there as well. I forgot to put red here. Then a little bit of red as well here in the eyes. You can see as soon as you blend that, it starts looking a little bit purplish, which happens when you haven't slept really well. So I bet everybody's looking at the mirror now. Oh, look at me! Yeah. So I'm gonna put here a little bit of red there. So just to break down this. Oops, what am I doing? Oh yeah.
I think it's one thing to point out. Is that what Louis doing here is that he's building tones up. So because when you look at the face, it's comprised of numerous tones, like we showed previously with the yellows, the blues, the reds, and you build up on your base colour. So right now she may look a little bit diseased, but it'll all start coming together as you start building up more and more with it. It's good, like putting together all the tones.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean here as well, because of the head, there is the hair, and then it's always quite blue as well here. So I think I should have changed this to spray, so it's a bit. I'm incurring too many lines because of that. But I think, like I said, if you put plenty of time in, you invest time and days and paint it slowly. I'm just touching this very lightly, by the way, guys, very lightly, so I know roughly where the things are. And then maybe I need more red in there, just to break it down. Apologies about the stamp thing. I don't know why the alpha is not working. Can you test it in your computer there, Holly, if the alpha is not working on this version?
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know, because I think I don't know, this is the first time I paint on this version, so I don't know if it's a bug or it's me that I need to restart the set brush, and I don't want to do that. I might have to do that in a second, but I'm not sure. So anyway, I put this in here. That doesn't matter much because that's gonna be covered by hair, but here as well, there's loads of veins in here, so you can probably do a lot of red and the neck as well. You can see a lot of red and blues as well because of the veins. Yeah, so you can put a little bit there. Let's go back to the reference to have a look and see where I missed something. So here you can see there's yellows, blues, a little bit of neutral tones here. I'm gonna put a little bit of neutral tones. What happened here? In this section there, and there's a little bit of yellows on this side. It's a lot of blue around this area, but that's because it's male, so you have to be quite subtle. There's a little bit of blue there, but very subtle for the female. So I don't know, we can probably get this color that we have here by clicking and dragging to that color, and then make it a little bit, I don't know, lighter, and then put a little bit of that there. Okay.
The drag rectangular and the alphas is working on my end.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's just bugged on. It might just be bugged.
Yeah, maybe it needs to restart the set brush or something, but I'm not gonna do that. So so yeah, I think it's that. What else can we do? Yeah, so yellows around this area, blues. I think I'm happy with that. There's blues. Let's put a little bit more yellow here in this area. Cheekbones and cheekbone here, and there. Not too much in there. Okay, so once you have this, okay, then what you can do is you can. At the moment, it looks all messed up, like a zombie or something. Like Holly was saying, it looks diseased, but. So we can just go and choose a color, which is roughly a color what you think is going to be like the color tone or the skin tone on top. So roughly I'm going to try this. This is quite tricky because this takes a lot of experimentation and trying and error. But what we have to do, we have to make these tones even as possible. Okay. And then probably, Holly, if you want to add something to this, let me know, because I think this is roughly, for stylization, you're probably going to have an extra pass or something. But
I'll talk about stylization once you've finished with this.
Okay, so you got this, then what you do is, now I'm gonna put like a washout color on top of this. It could be something like white, sort of pale white, because that's the color I've chosen. It could be any color. So I'm going to make this as even as possible. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm going to put, I don't know, probably about 10% intensity, okay, RGB. That color chosen, I'm gonna open this tab here, and I'm just gonna close that, and I'm gonna put the color, and I'm just gonna do it here, because I'm gonna have to put, I have 11% here, or 10%, let's put it 5, 6. RGB, this is relevant the brush you're having here, because it's gonna be a flooding. So remember the thing that I did at the beginning when I flooded the base color 100%. 100%. Now I'm gonna do the same, but only 6%. So which means every time I click this button, fill object, will only add 6% color on top of this. So, and then it will be a matter of you eyeballing it. So you go here and say fill object, and keep going. You can see now, look, every time I click, I'm adding some percentage. At the moment it looks messed up because I put too much color in this, but maybe around this time here was roughly something that you could probably do. You can see now that the character looks a little bit, at the moment, it's because I didn't invest enough time to make these colors nice and even. You can make it nice and even, guys, with making like a nice spray and then smooth it out and then make sure that it's filled properly. But you can see, for example, the eyes is a good example, that even though the major color is this, there is some blues and red coming through. The same with the lips. Okay, so for example, you can hit another, maybe give you a little bit more. I think that color was a bit too saturated, and then we give you another couple of strokes there, and you can see that still those colors pass through, but it doesn't look as diseased as before. Again, this section is because I just did it on the fly. I cannot. This takes time, guys, just to sit down yourself and then do it. Things like this, red patches and stuff, you can just smooth them out on the color before you commit to this. And then when you put everything will look a little bit more even. So if you make it look as even, as roughly as the reference here, like this sort of blending with colors like that, with a little bit of a spray, and then you see it's a little bit of blur between. And then when you put the filled color on top, everything will look nice. The moment you see this is what we're creating here, you see that's what it looks like. Look. So example here, this one has the spray done a little bit better. You see, it's more even distributed, and then you put the color on top, and then everything will start making sense. But otherwise, we're running out of time. It's nearly been talking for nearly 2 hours, and then you will have this. Okay, you will have this sort of element here that just has to make it look this way. So, and this is pretty much what you have to do with your character. If you want to do things like, I don't know, some sort of tattoo and painting, then that's fine. You have to go into for example, you go here, if you're going to put a tattoo, let's say you want to, again, I would like to see your painting so I can actually give you more pointers, otherwise it takes forever to do this. So I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to do the freehand. I'm not going to put anything because it's not working in mine, but if you want to put a tattoo, I don't know, you choose some sort of dark color, black, not black 100%, but when you paint, you don't paint with 100%, you paint with a sort of percentage. And if you want to, I don't know, if you paint like that, and then you start adding something on top, some sort of tattoo patterns, whatever. Tattoos and the skin will look nice when you put other methods like different materials and stuff. For now, that's you can see here. Look, this is a nice variation. Look, you have nice blues in here with a nice the overall color, and then red here as well. Those hues when they're nicely put together with the picture I just shown you, they start making more sense. And I think I smoothed things out. I think I messed things out here a little bit. I think I lost a lot of detail in here. Look, but that's fine. I can record. I can just go here, project, and then only project, not color, geometry, and then I'll project the detail back on if I want to. So that's because I pressed shift and I forgot to uncheck the add thing. You see, I forgot to do this. When I smooth the colors, I forgot that I'm gonna be smoothing, but I need to uncheck this so it doesn't smooth the geometry. It only smooths the colors. For example, here. See here, smoothing them out, just the color. Okay. And I think what my mistake was that when I was smoothing, I forgot to uncheck this, so I was smoothing color and geometry at the same time. But again, if you want to recover that, all you have to do is go into this one, project the geometry, not the color, and you will be back to the way it was. Okay. So for your things in metal, just make sure you choose a different material. Now, at the moment, we have the issue that every time I change the material, look, it changes because I have a different material. So you could go into the skin shade for, okay, and then decide that you like this material for the skin. Then you select the material. I'm gonna fill material, not color, material. And here I tell them fill object, and it will fill this with just material. Okay, that's irrelevant because it's 100%. So anyway, put it there. So material, this, fill object. Nothing happened, but look what happened when I change the material. It doesn't change because the material now is being as well assigned or filled to the actual geometry. Okay, and if you go back here in geometry, you can go back all the way down. See, I'm in level 1. You can see that things here are quite pixelated. So as I go up, you start seeing more detail. So if, for example, if I paint something here with black, like I said at the beginning, let me showcase that for you, color, I'm gonna paint color. And if I reduce this and I do this, so if I go down, this is what it should look like if I were painting only with 40,000. Look, very pixelated, the same principle as in Photoshop. As you start increasing this, look, it starts getting smoother, smoother, and smoother because now you have plenty of polygon. Now you have 2.4 million polygons. Okay? Okay. So, paint in the highest, and then you get this sort of shape up. Again, this is quick here, but I like this section probably. I think the one that was probably accomplished, which is the eye section, because it was quite even in there. Okay? And the lips as well. But the rest was a bit sketchy because I didn't invest enough time in it, but that's because we don't have time. So, again, for the eyes, going back to the question at the beginning, how I did the eyes, this is how I did the eyes. The eyes, I'm gonna duplicate them, okay, and I'm gonna quickly, before we wrap this up, I'm going to delete all the color and all that stuff in here. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna put color 100%, and I'm gonna take white, and I'm just gonna fill it. And you see, I kill all the color, okay? When I did the eyes as well, based on the study, I painted a mask, and then I sculpted this and then smoothed it, and I get like the iris, the eyeball popping out. But that's how it should be in terms of the eyes. Another tip as well, guys, when you do eyes, make sure, I'm gonna do this because it looks cool on this. I'm just gonna take this guy and move it down. Another thing you can do with the eyes, and I think it's something you can do all the time, is I'm gonna put this back to skin shade, or just the gray for now. 1 second. Oops. Yeah, why not like that. The thing as well when you do the eyes, guys, if you do the eyes like this, don't keep them straight. Eyes, you see, eyes, rotate them around 5 degrees out like that. Between 5 and 7 degrees. If you keep them straight like this, the character will look cross-eyed. 1 second, just save it. It will look a little bit cross-eyed, and it's obviously if you do too much, it looks cross-eyed. But if you take this, then you put it about 6 degrees or 7 degrees out until you're happy, then the character looks completely natural and normal. Another thing as well, cover the eyelid. The eyelid should cover about 10 to 15% of the iris on top here, and this which is just about to cover this. The size of the iris as well. Looking at the at the Anatomy for Sculpted book and the research, it's just about 50% of the eyeball in terms of size. So this is about 50% of the diameter of this. And then what I did was I painted a mask, I sculpted it and I smoothed it, and then you get a little thing popping out. Or you can just move it out if you want. So that's one tip as well for the eyes to make it look a bit natural. So how I did the eyes is this. So I went there with this. I took this. Let me do that. And then I went here and then I chose a color. I don't know, some sort of greenish color. I can see here, you see it's changing on this because I haven't filled this with nothing. It's just the way it is. So I don't know, something like some sort of neutral, a bit more greenish, something like that. And then, because I had a mask back then, so I can just maybe paint that mask now. Go here. I'm gonna press Control. Just gonna paint that mask there. Okay. It might not be 100% like the other one, right? Because I'm not using the same mask that I did for the. Okay, so I invert the mask, and then with this color selected, I go in here, 100%, paint the color eyes. Okay, and then I'm gonna clear this mask, so I got this. Okay, well I'm gonna keep the mask for now. And then what I did was I took a color. Now, if you study a little bit of how the eyes are painted in just 2D, the same principle. So I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this very small. Okay. Intensity like that's fine, and I'm gonna take the same color but a little bit darker, or a little bit brighter in this case. And then normally you will have in the eye, you will have this to be brighter because of the light, and then this will be darker because of the shadow of the eyelid. So what you do is you just give a quick pass of that color there, like a little touch. You see, automatically start looking 3D because of the highlight. So it's just a little bit of a quick touch in there. Look, very subtle. Then you will get something a little bit darker. This is just literally, pardon the pun, eyeballing it. So I call this very small with this brush and this color darker, and then I start painting lines. If you invest time on this, you can make it look really realistic, you know. And then something brighter, just to create sort of like a highlight. Okay. Now these eyeballs are 200,000 polygons, something like that. So do this. Then create another one that is sort of white dark, and then just put it like this in the dark bit next to it. So give you like a sort of like a depth, just to fake the depth. Look, just when you put a dark one to a bright one, it automatically looks like it has some sort of. If you paint as well in here, not all through, but some of the areas like this, you start giving a little bit more of a depth, and then something like some quick highlight here and there. Look. Okay, don't worry about the middle. We're gonna sort this out in a second. There. Just let me double check that recording went okay. I don't wanna lose that stuff. 1 second. Where's my screen? Okay. 1 second, guys, bear with me. Yeah, everything is recording so far. Yeah. So you get that, and then you get black and crease this, and you just paint here black, and you get the eye like that. See, now you clear the mask, and from far away you can sell it. Now if I showcase this, I'm gonna put this back to white. It's looking okay, but I think the eyelid should be a little bit higher. You can do that, but now the moment it looks like it's being punched in the stomach, you know. So what happened is, the top of the eye looks dark is because of the shadow of the eyelid. So what you have to do is the same. So just go here, black. Solo again. Well, not solo it, because I'm gonna choose some sort of black here, and then I'm gonna make this, I don't know, 30%. I'm gonna increase this, and I'm just gonna quickly give it some strokes. Whoops, on top here, like this, like that. Look, not too much, I guess. I'll go there. And when you do that, it automatically looks a bit more integrated. The other one invested more time than this, obviously. This is just a quick pass, and I think I added a little bit of red around the corners here as well, because this has red. The eyes has a little bit of red here and there. So. Okay, this is the level of painting, guys, that I expect from you. This is, like I said, this is year 1. I don't expect you to do 100% like already. This is too much. This is like you have a very nice weekend. So you compare these, and then with a little bit of better time, then you get this. This is a bit more thought out, painted, with a bit more time. The nice line clean. The iris where it should go is at the moment. The other one looks too down. He's looking down. You see that's something that I need to fix. That means that I have to go. Just a matter of doing this and painting this somewhere around there. And going to this. I put too much red, but that you see automatically looks way more. The iris was a bit too low, so that's way more accurate. And at the moment, the material that I have is the same principle. I went there and I assigned toy plastic, and you see I assigned it to the other one because the other one hasn't got anything assigned to. And you select this one, and then you just go into material, fill object, and pack, it will give you that toy look in there. Okay. And this is a bit too much red. It's kind of bothering me, a bit disturbing. So I think this one is a bit more natural, and I think the other ones need to be hidden as well. So yeah. So pretty much that's how you. Let's see this with a face instead. You can see it looks a bit automatically. I think the eyes, like I say, is a section that we sort of nailed, but the other one is a little bit too rough still. That's because you need better painting, and the lips as well. And if then you wanna put makeup, then it's the same. I think this one has. I think I probably cleared the makeup of this. Yeah, I think I cleared the makeup of this. And the makeup is just a mask that I did. Yeah, it's this one. Yeah. No, I think I cleared the mask. Anyway, so yeah, so that's how you painted the eyes, and this is roughly what I expect you guys from having your models. You know, no biggie. Like I said, this is year 1. You're learning. You'll be alright. Okay. Okay.
Okay, am I okay to add something, Louis?
Of course you can. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Has everybody, hopefully you all should have done, but there's a presentation in week 9 that I put up about painting. It's kind of a lot of like what we talked about today with facial tones and colour theory is in there. So if you haven't checked that already, please do look up that. I talk about like the importance of colour, balancing colours, palettes, the importance of balancing hue, saturation and value, and talking about different types of colour formulas. But when it also branching off from the face colour theory of like building up those yellow, red and teal tones on the face, there is a link as well on the presentation. It's a blog called Gurney Journey Colour Zones, and I would really recommend that you guys check it out. It kind of breaks down and compares traditional oil paintings, portraits, and shows you an example of where the build up of the tones, like a really flushed red cheeks to the teal tones of the beard, and you can see and identify like all the tones in the face. It's fantastic, so please do check it out. So obviously what Louis gone down through with you, you need to put down your flat colours and think about the facial tones. Now obviously you are all doing something that is stylised, so remember I've said this has almost become a mantra now. Before you bend the rules, you must know the rules, and that's the rules, and that's when it comes to anything that's stylised. So, for stylisation, the way that I paint very similarly to the way that I paint when I'm drawing. Like for me, it becomes hand in hand. So what I do, like Louis did, is he put down the flat tones. So as Louis did, like you put down that base flat tone, and then you go. What I do is I like to offset colours. So say you've got you're doing a box, like a wooden crate box. You put down your flat tone of the colour of the that's going to be the crate, and then with the individual planks, it's nice to kind of offset those colours, and then putting down the flat colours throughout. So the flat colour of the hair, so this character, the hair, and then the skin tone. If you got clothing, start putting down the flats of the colour clothing, and then add your gradients, which includes facial tones. That adds a nice gradients, and because that can help add depth. Then once you've got the gradients, you can pattern block out. So what I'm discussing now is everything in the presentation, where I've broke down how I've done it with a fish that I've painted. So put down all those pattern block outs, and then go in with the detail, start adding your highlights, and start carving out the face with the shadows and the highlights, and work up from there. And you'll find that painting is a process of building things up, layering on top of each other. So you start with the flat tones, you add the gradients, and then you start building up your highlights, shadows, and then details on top, and stacking them up to create something that's and to create your finished product. Yeah, there's also I've also added a couple of examples of stylized painting as well, if you guys are interested in checking that out.
Brilliant. Thank
Thanks.
you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's you got more experience when it comes to painting and all that. I've done, like I said, I've done some paintings, but I've done some paintings in Substance Painter. And the majority that I've done painting is in here in characters doing inside ZBrush, and then I reuse those maps later on. But you will, and on the journey, guys, you will learn about the UVs, poly painting more, and how to export your models. And I will be seeing you for the rest of the next 2 years. So that's you will come across the concept. So, like I said at the beginning, guys, keep going. This is the first time you do this. It's normal. That you feel a little bit anxious about the software now, because it's quite tricky, this software. But once you get the understanding of the software, then you can explore more and create some really cool stuff. So don't worry, guys, you'll be all right. So now what we're going to do is going to go into the help rooms, and then I'm gonna take one, and probably just give us 5 minutes, because I need to something to eat or prepare something to eat, because I'm starving, and then I'll come here, a cup of tea or something. And then I'll come back here in 5 minutes, and then I'll see you guys in the help room. So if we don't see everybody, like I said, don't worry. We're gonna see you on Thursdays, okay? And I'll be there. So 1-to-1, bring questions, do the things, just write it down, and then I will go through those with you, and then I'll try to I'll share my screen, and I'll try to make sure that I'll showcase you exactly what you need to do, okay? Again, just to recap, this today was just about poly painting, about a little bit about anatomy, and the fact that it's actually normal if you're doing something and then you have to start again. That is completely normal. Like I said, don't start now, because it's just week 10 or something, so we cannot do that. But at the beginning, that's what I was encouraging, because I based on my experience, every time I do that, I would produce something that is far superior than the original. So do not settle. It is pretty normal. Do not settle for the first thing. And if you're not happy, there is a point that you're gonna have to cut your losses. You cannot just be, no, I'm not happy, and then week 10, 11, you're still not happy. No, that's fine. It's a point that you're gonna say, okay, now I think I'm in the right path, and then you just continue from there. And then factor that in, that you're learning the software. This is gonna be your first model. This is gonna be your first artwork in 3D. Like I said, 99% of the time, you're not gonna be able to use it for a demo purposes. Some of you have in the past. I have a few cases, but the majority is not. And I think I mentioned to you at the beginning, if I show you what I did for my major project when I was studying, it's like, come on, man, what were you thinking? And I thought I was very proud of it at the time, but obviously with experience and learning and all that, now I produce something that is different. So I have different standards. But it is pretty normal. When you go on to an employer, they will know, guys, that you have no experience. They will know. They just want to see that little thing that they can use in the company, working with them. You know, it's about, the attitude, the finishing your work, having everything completed, the the little things that make you a good artist. Okay, so they will know that when they see something, it's not like a AAA game, but hopefully some of you will achieve it, or the majority of you. But if you put the time, you will get there. But they will know. They will know. Say, okay, this guy is doing this. This has got a lot of potential. I know that he has never worked in the industry, so they will factor that in. Okay. So yeah. Okay, guys. So any question?
Does anybody have any questions before we start doing
questions? Yeah.
feedback?
Sorry. Just with the colour zone bit, when it comes to if we're doing someone with a darker skin tone, is it the same red, yellow, blue sort of colours for your undertones?
There are still those like similar color undertones, because if you think about it, even with darker skin tone, like where areas where you get flushed, it's where there's like a lot of blood going there. So that still applies if it's darker skin tone. Same with the beard area as well. You'll still get those like that off tone. Are you doing it? Is your character that you're doing this darker skin tone?
Yeah.
Okay. The best way to look at examples and their reference, because obviously you are going to be working with a darker palette, there'll be tweaks required for that.
It's just because I just looked up the face zones, and all of the examples are white people. There's very, like, almost no examples using a person of colour, so I was just wondering if the undertones were the same.
Very good point, that you raised. All the examples do just show white people. But it does follow a similar build-up.
Yeah.
If I post this,
I mean, even if the
feedback,
character, sorry.
If I post this into feedback, and this is a 2D painting, but it's still the same applies. You look on the right hand side, I know it's a female character, but can you see that they still, like, look at the palette underneath, there's the yellows, reds and teal tones still, and they've still got the build up of red on the cheek area, the nose area, and can you see the yellow tones where Louis was placing them down on the on his example? The yellow tones, like on the forehead, underneath the eyes, you can, like at the chin, you can still see those there. Are you just working on a darker base?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Just make sure you choose that material for skin, like that skin shade four. I think, because this one is this one is skin shade 4, so just white, so you don't have any sort of built-in color, but it has some sort of like a nice smooth highlights. Okay. There are some fancy materials in there, but those materials are not really, if you want to create some really interesting renders and things like that, but for what the purpose, probably you need to choose 3. One for the something wet or shiny, like the toy plastic, and then something like for the skin, like roughly like skin shade 4, and then for the metal, like the bling will be fine, or one of the metal ones is fine. Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions? Are we happy to go and start feedback in a couple minutes?
Yeah. Okay, so like I said, just let me go and get a drink or a cup of tea, and then I'll come and see you guys in 5 minutes. Okay. So yeah.
What we're gonna do, Louis, isn't it? We're gonna divide and conquer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what we're gonna be doing is, as you can see, there's the 2 help rooms. There's help room 1 and help room 2. Me and Louis will see half of you, and I'll see the other half, so we have time to get through everybody. In the meantime, whilst you are waiting for feedback, please continue working on your ZBrush, characters and sculpts. In the meantime, okay. We'll go get a tea, coffee, and then we will start meeting you in help room. So everyone be prepared to be dragged into one of those help rooms, okay?
Yeah. Like I said, just to recap, I will be here till 12, 12, something later, because I need to go and teach as well in the other module after that. But like I say, if I don't see you today, I'll see you on Thursday definitely. Okay. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna stop the recording.